Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. I am Widad binti Basri and my metric number is 1201054. Today, in this video, I'll present you guys my final semester 1 project 3, which is Individual Design Studio Pod. Alright, I'll start with the design brief. In the design brief, it is stated that in this project, we are required to design a confined space for a 24-hour use. This project is about to heighten the awareness of human body, the interaction of human body and the space, and also the role of reasoning and logic in shaping the form. In the brief also stated that we are required to design within 12 meters square. 12 meters square is not that big. It is only fit one person. So which means in this pod we are required to design a studio pod which can be occupied by one student. Alright, we'll move to the issue. The issue of this project is that number 1, there is no specific place in the studio where the students can be alone and focus on their work, as students are easily distracted. For example, like students will get distracted by the noise made by other students, or even sometimes they will get distracted by the sound of a footstep in front of the studio. And the second issue is that there is no specific place in the studio where the students can store their architectural tools or their belongings safely. Some students just put their tools or their belongings in the box and put the box below the drafting table. Or even sometimes the students just left their belongings, their tools on the drafting tables just like that. And you imagine if someday these tools just went missing because it is not stored safely. What happened to the student? The student can't do their work perfectly because the tools are not enough. So we can let this problem become worse. In Surah Ar-Ra'd verse 11, Allah says, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqaumin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim, which means, indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Alright, from this verse, I learned that if we encounter with a problem, we can't just stay still and do nothing. We can't just rely on fate and just cry for nothing. We have to strive for a way so that we can overcome the problem. For example, now we have a problem where our studio is not conducive enough for a learning session. Then we need to strive for a way to overcome this problem. For example, like designing a studio pod that can reply to all those issues stated. So, I came up with a design solution with a concept of alacrity. Alacrity means eagerness and liveliness. Students should feel alive and enjoyment during the process of learning or during their sketching, drawing, designing, so that they won't feel bored. So this studio pod is designed to lighten up the mood of the student so that to keep their students' work productive. The liveliness of the studio pod is portrayed through the colorfulness of the studio pod, and the eagerness is portrayed through the structure of the pod, which the ideation came from a brain. My ideation is from a brain structure. Why I choose brain as my ideation? Because as we know, generally, brain is a human control center where the brain controls all of human activities. For example, like what I'm doing now, the brain control talking, can control our finger, can control also the emotion of a person. So I wanted to express that a studio pot should be something that where all the students' activity can be done there. Is a control activity for the student to be productive. For example, when students enter the pod, they can do their work productively. They won't feel distracted. They won't feel bored or sleepy. And then, for a brain, they have two parts, which is the active part and the passive part. The active part, I interpreted it into this design of studio pod to be a part with the drafting table. Why? Because at the drafting table, it is where most of the student activities could be done there. For example, like their online learning there, they can do their notes there, they can draw their sketch there, or even brainstorming ideas there. So most of the student activity will be done at the drafting table. So the drafting table is basically the active part of the students, so that can relate to the brain. And then the passive part is a part at the back of the drafting table. At the back of the drafting table, there is a shelf where it can store all the architectural tools or also the belongings of the students, for example, like their bag, their pencil case, and then it can also store A1 cartridge paper. We know that architectural students, mostly when they do the presentation, they have to do it on A1 cartridge paper. And A1 cartridge paper is large. It can't just be stored like you store the A4 paper. You have to place it at a specific place so that the paper won't be cramped. And then it can also store, if you bought your hoodie, it can store that. Also, it can store snacks for a student. You know, sometimes students just want to choose something when they do their work, when they're listening to the lecturer's teaching. They want to choose something. It is maybe because they're sleepy or just a habit. If the student go downstairs to buy the snacks, then it will be a waste of time if it is compared to when the students just pull the chair to the back and take the snacks to eat. Then it could save the time. A student who can manage their time well is a clerk student. Alright, it is the ideation of my studio pod. And then I will move to the design process. As I said, I started designing this pod with the ideation of a brain. Then starting from brain structure, which you can see that it is the oval in shape, and also the surface is uneven. So I insert these two characteristics into the design of the studio pod. I started designing the studio pod with an oval shape and have the uneven structure, which is have the intrude and extrude part, which is constructed from a glass. And then I change the base into a rectangular base, which is not the oval base anymore, because after a create, then I realized that this studio pod, as I said, it is only be occupied by one person, only 12 meters square. So we have to make use the space properly, so that students who are in the pod will feel more spacious and comfortable to do their job. So after that, I change the below part to be not see-through, so the students who sit there would feel more comfortable and a little privacy, that it is not all see-through to the outside of the world. And I design it with a glass because it is easily to communicate with people outside. Alright, my president study is from So Fujimoto's Naoshima Pavilion, which is located near a boat terminal in Japan. This pavilion can be seen by the people, the visitors who visits the islands. So do my studio pod, which can be seen by others at the outside, and also students from the inside can see people at the outside. So it's enable two-way communication, where the lecturers can communicate with the students inside, and the students inside can also communicate with other students outside or even the lecturers outside. For example, like when the lecturer is giving their lecture, of course the lecturer won't enter the pod because the pod can only be occupied by one person. So it's quite not comfortable if two person would be there. So we have to design something that is enable the student to have a two-way communication. Alright, moving to my second board. As you can see, in my second board, there are three drawings there. The middle one is the floor plan, and the other two is section XX and section YY. Alright, firstly, I'll explain you guys my floor plan. As you can see, my floor plan is designed with the base of rectangular shape. Why? Because I want to make sure all the space used well, and there will be no negative space of this design. So this design, when a student enter this spot, it will feel spacious and comfortable to use. And then, as you can see, there are drafting table, drafting chair, and a shelf. All these three furnitures is a furniture that is required, stated in the design brief. Okay, first one, the drafting table. I placed the drafting table at the in front of the pot because at the front of the pot, we know that front of the pot will be where the pot will face the lecturers when they give the lecture. So this make the student easier to communicate with the lecturer, to see the lecturer, and to take notes with the drafting table, with the notebooks on the drafting table. And then the drafting chair. The drafting chair is made, as you can see, polygon in shape, and the base at the front is bigger well compared to base at the behind. Why? Because sometimes the normal people would not sit almost 24 hours normally standard sitting. Sometimes they will lift up their leg and sit with their leg crossed. So if the base of the chair is bigger in front, then it would be more comfortable for the person who use this chair. And the chair is also adjustable, where it can lift higher and it can move lower. So the student can adjust the chair according to his or her height. Other than that, this chair is also completed with a wheel. So the student who use the chair can move freely, can move easily. They don't have to stand from the chair to take their architectural tools which is stored behind at the shelf. They can just pull their chair and go take the tools and come back to the drafting table to continue their work. And these items, which is adjustable chair with a wheel, makes the user comfortable and makes this chair ergonomic to human use. And then thirdly, the shelf. As you can see, the shelf, as you know, the shelf is something designed to store our belongings. So this shelf is designed to put the architectural tools. For example, like the scale ruler, the watercolor, pencils, the other ruler, papers, and whatever. And what else? Other than that, This shelf is also complete with a locked drawer because we know university students mostly their work will be done in a computer, in a laptop. And if they want to go to the toilet or they want to go downstairs to eat or to pray, they must save their laptop somewhere safer. So this shelf is designed complete with a lock so that if they want to go to prayer, they want to go to eating, then they can store their laptop there, lock it, and go eating or pray without being worried about the safety of his or her belongings. Alright, moving to the section XX. As you know, section is to show the activities that can be done at the site. The section XX shows that students can draft. It shows that there is drafting table and drafting chair. So there, is the place where the student do almost their work. For example, they sketch there, they draw, they do their learning session there, online learning there, and other else. They can also brainstorming ideas. They can also communicate with the lecturers or with their friends outside of the pod because the class make the students can communicate with people outside. Alright, moving to the section YY. At the section YY, you can see the table is a bit double. It is because below the table there is another storage hidden there. So the students can save other things that they want to save. If they put their T-square at the back, and they can put something smaller at the in front at the storage below the table. For example, like the pencils, their pencil case, or A3 papers there. Or they can even store A1 paper if they don't want to roll it and put it behind, because the storage is made the same size as the drafting table. Other than that, you can see also the chair. The chair completed with an adjustable mechanism and a wheel. And then the shelf. The shelf, as you can see, it is not in a normal shape like in the store. The shape is designed like that to create a harmony with the structure of the pod. As you know, this studio pod, the structure of this studio pod is not like an even structure. It have the intrude and extrude part, so the surface is not even. So do the shelf. The shelf will not be designed the only rectangular, so it is designed in a shape where it is ergonomic for a human use. Moving to my third board. In this board, there is 4 elevations: the front elevation, the rear elevation, the left elevation, and the right elevation. The elevation is to show all different sides of the pod. This pod is designed by a random triangular which is attached to each other. This random triangular makes the pod looking dynamic and aesthetic. Lastly, the last board have the exterior perspective, interior perspective, and a little bit of construction detail. Alright, in the construction detail, I will use polycarbonate sheet colors. Why? I'll explain to you a little bit of the benefits while using polycarbonate sheet colors. Firstly, it have multiple choice of color. As you know, I designed this pot to have a colorful color, so I have to choose material that is available in various colors. So this polycarbonate sheet colors is a great choice. And then polycarbonate sheet color is easy to move and easy to cut. This pot is designed by attachment of random triangular, so if the material is easy to cut, so it is easier to construct this pot. Other than that, this material is also a lightweight material where it is suitable for a simple construction like a studio pot. Last but not least, polycarbonate sheet colors can easily be attached with joinings by each other. I will use a steel frame and joints to construct this pot. Okay, I will show you the physical model of this studio pot. As you can see, this is the front elevation and the rear elevation. And then, this is the left elevation and the right elevation. At the right elevation, you can see an opening. I designed this pot without a door, and I'll just left it as an opening just like that because it is easily for a student to move outside and inside of the pot. And then with an opening, with a big opening like this, it is more can have a natural ventilation where the student can be more comfortable and else. Alright, lastly, this is the interior look of the pot. As you can see, the table can be lifted up, and below of the table there is the storage where you can store a simple tools like pencils, watercolor, and you can even fit A1 cartridge paper. Alright, that's all from me for this presentation. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and thank you.